Hey, what is going on YouTube? It is your host Sean, also known as the Prophet of Profit, and today we have a video on one of the most popular indicators used by day and swing traders in the stock market, and that of course is the MACD indicator, also known as the Moving Average Convergence Divergence. And this, in my opinion, is one of the more easier indicators to learn, so I doubt this will really end up taking that much time. This video is going to get right to the point, no BS. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring you into the Thinkorswim platform. This is actually TD Ameritrade's trading platform. In my RSI video, I had many of you guys ask me what trading platform I was using. Yes, it is TD Ameritrade's. Yes, it is Thinkorswim. And yes, in my opinion, it is the best trading platform. So with that, please do not forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. I will see you guys in Thinkorswim. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so here we are in the mystical land that is Thinkorswim. And in order to get the MACD indicator, you got to go up here to the top right where it says studies. Go from studies to quick studies to all studies to down here M, obviously, and then the MACD indicator. So that once again is studies, quick studies, all studies, and then M, MACD, obviously. And it pops up down here as any indicator would. And at first glance, the MACD indicator kind of looks terrifying because it's like, what is going on down here? But it's really not that hard to understand. So we're actually going to be taking a look at this run that happened in BioLace this week. And zooming in here on the MACD indicator, there's three things all of you are probably taking notice of right off the bat. Maybe four actually. So the first thing is that there's two lines, right? And both of these lines are actually exponential moving averages, although that doesn't really matter, and I more or less just look at them as two lines. The second thing is the fact that there's a baseline at 0 here. In that these two lines actually go up and above that baseline and then go down below that baseline. And the third thing is that amongst all of this, there is a histogram in the background with varying sizes of green candles and various sizes of red candles. And all three of these factors are actually very important, but in my opinion, the most important thing about the MACD indicator is when the signal line crosses the MACD line. So like right here, like they're called MACD crosses. And I'm going to get into that right now. So the first important thing to note is that the white line, so the slower moving of the two lines, is called the MACD line. So the white line, the slower moving of the two lines, is called the MACD line. The blue line here is the faster moving of the two lines, and this is called the signal line. And when the MACD crosses right here, so when the signal line crosses the MACD line right here, that is considered a convergence because the lines are coming together. And right here, when the signal line is moving away from the MACD, so like right here, that is considered a divergence because the MACD or the signal line is moving away from the MACD. So those are just some definitions, but at this point you're probably asking, Sean, what does it mean when the MACD and the signal line are crossing? So the important thing to note is that when the signal line crosses the MACD line on when it converges on it on a downwards motion, that typically represents that the stock is going to start downtrending. It's not always right, but that's what it typically means. I feel like with MACD, the main thing people don't realize is that you want to sell when the two lines are furthest apart, because by the time they're coming closer together, there's already going to be a change in the trend of that price action, if that makes any sense. I'll show you what this means later in the video. But like right here, when the signal line converges on an upwards motion on the MACD line, that typically represents a solid time to buy, although you see literally about 30 minutes later, this ended up being a false indicator because the signal line converged on the MACD line and then started a downtrend here. But like I said, you typically want to buy or sell when the lines are furthest apart. So down here, when the signal line crosses the MACD line on an upwards motion, this typically would represent a solid time to buy. So that's all it really is when it comes to MACD crosses. Like I said, later into the video, I'll get into this more of how it's relative to price action. But as of right now, there's two more factors that we have to get into when it comes to this indicator. So we'll get into those right now. So the first of these two factors, of course, is the histogram. This one is not really hard to understand. So as you could see, there is green candles and there's red candles, and they're varying in size at times. So how the candles work is that if a price is moving more strongly in a direction, the green candles are going to be bigger. So the bigger the green candles, the more like volatile and quickly the stock is probably going to be moving up. Vice versa, though, the same could be said for red candles. So the bigger the red candles on the histogram facing downwards, honestly, the histogram might be the most important part of the MACD. Because the bigger the red candles, you'll see the more the price ends up shooting down. And usually you'll see big red candles on a downtrend. And that's all it really is with the histogram. Just remember, the bigger the candle, the more strongly the price is probably going to be moving in that direction. So moving on here, the last thing we're going to be looking at on the MACD indicator is the concept of zero crosses. So zero crosses are supposed to represent a change in the trend of a stock. So technically, like right here, obviously this would be an uptrend when the MACD and the signal line started to trend upwards and broke through zero. Obviously right here would represent a downtrend in the stock because the MACD and signal line broke through this baseline of zero. And you see sometimes there's false indicators because right here, the MACD and signal line crossed the zero line, but they ended up breaking it like an hour later and starting another downtrend. So you do got to be careful with this MACD indicator. It's not always correct, but it does give you a good idea on where the price movement is going to be going. So with that, I'm going to show you all three of these factors are relative to the price action of a stock. All right, we're zoomed out here now on the run that happened in BioLace this week. This is a 5-day, 5-minute chart, so each candle represents 5 minutes in the span of 5 days. Although we're going to zoom in here on this run, and we're going to take a look down here at the MACD indicator and how it was reacting to the price action. So originally, as I said in a previous video, BioLace had a PR about ventilators this week, manufacturing ventilators. And it caused this original huge pop. And as you could see, originally when this run was starting, the MACD, or the signal line, was getting further away from the MACD line. And this was in the span of almost like 5 to 10 minutes. You could see that the line was just getting further and further away from each other. Indicative that no matter what the price action was going to be up here, whether it started to even shoot down, the price was most likely going to be going higher. On top of this, if you take a look at the histogram, right, the candles were getting bigger and bigger at this point, and the price ended up shooting to about 90 cents on this original pop. Not to mention, as you could see, there was a zero cross on this original run showing that this huge uptrend was going to happen. See, there's many factors that go into this. I'm just pointing out what happened on the MACD indicator. And so, as you could see, it had this high point here on the MACD indicator and a high point in the price, which was about 90 cents. And then there was a convergence of the signal line onto the MACD indicator here. And as you could see, this convergence actually happened when the price was at its lowest. So, as I said, the MACD is not always right, and it gives false indicators sometimes. You just got to use this with all your other indicators in your bag, and you'll be successful. So, there was this crosshair convergence, and then the signal line started diverging away from the MACD line. And as you could see, though, it wasn't, and there was the histogram was reading some red. But as you could see, though, the lines stayed relatively close this whole time. And when the lines are staying close like this, you see they were far away here on a big uptrend, but when they're staying close like this on a downtrend, that means that there could potentially be a trend break and yet another uptrend, and that is what ended up happening with BioLace. So as I said, what ended up happening was that there was this trend break here, so the signal line converged upwards on the MACD and then started diverging away. What would have happened is if BioLace wanted to go over 1, is these lines would have just kept, or the signal line would have just kept going further and further away from the MACD line, but that didn't happen. What ended up happening is this cross right here was actually a false indicator, and then this cross would tell the truth, because what ended up happening with BioLace is it hit that high of 96 cents on this cross, but ended up downtrending horribly from a high of 96 cents to about 65 cents. And as you could see, it broke the trend. It broke the trend as a whole with this zero cross. The histogram read giant red candles, and by that point, BioLace still has not recovered. Not only price action wise, but also MACD wise. So as you can see, the MACD is pretty accurate in my opinion. And the reality of the situation is that's all there really is to the MACD indicator. I think this video got really to the point, and I gave you a good example here with BioLace of how I kind of use it when I'm trading. If I was vague or if you didn't understand any points, just drop a comment and I'll be sure to respond to it. As I said, the link to Thinkorswim is going to be in the description of this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for all the feedback, and we're growing so fast as of late. I appreciate it a lot. Don't forget to like, comment, and of course subscribe. I will see you guys in the next video, and let's go make some money.